Before we hit the road on today's podcast, I want to take a moment to thank some of our sponsors. Without your support, what we do day in and day out would not be possible. And those are Act One, Performance Food Group, Fastport, and Long Haul Trucking, Lytics, Old Dominion Freight Lines, Republic Services, Rail Transport, Ryder, Samba Safety, the Truck Parking Club, and Universal Technical Institute, or UTI. Hey, welcome to NGT Talks. And I'm super excited because I'm always excited to have Bryan Boyd with Hendrickson on the call today. And we have something very relevant that we're going to talk about. And that is that he was just at an event to represent trucking as a positive career choice. It's that kind of career branding that we're trying to do to students. It was called the Technology Student Association. And Bryan, I want you to tell me a little bit about yourself, where you're from. How in the world did you get into the trucking industry and working for Hendrickson?
It's a long story, but essentially I was working at another factory and a guy came to that factory that had worked at Hendrickson, and he knew I was young and was looking for a career. And he was like, "Man, I just came from this place and I think you would be a great fit." He was like, "I know the HR manager. Let me give him a call." And I've been here for the past 26 years. So
wow. Well, you don't look that old to have been there for 26 years.
yeah, pretty much my first job out of high school. So
that's awesome. Okay. So, I'm just going to say factory doesn't have a great connotation, right? So what is it like? Like, do you still say that you work at a factory, or do you say I work at a manufacturing plant?
yeah,
What is
I'm
it
more
like?
of I say more of a manufacturing facility. I work for a manufacturer now. And like I said, I've been here for 26 years. I've done a bunch of different things at Hendrickson. Currently, I'm a senior national account manager for Hendrickson. And basically what I do is I kind of manage strategic relationships between Hendrickson and the top 100, some of the top 100 fleets in America.
I love this. So did you go to college?
I did. And here's the cool thing. Hendrickson paid for my college education while I was working there, which was a really cool benefit.
Right.
That,
So, okay, you were 18 and you were like, I don't know what I want to do. So I'm going to go work at the factory down the road. Is it like at that time, were you not looking at college as your future?
Not really. I initially out of high school, I went into the Army. So
Okay.
just the reserve. So, I was not full time, but because I really didn't have a lot of direction in life and I needed something. So I did that. And then when I came back after the first like 4 months of training that you go to with boot camp and advanced training, that's when I went to work at the other factory that I was working at. And I really didn't have a ton of direction. But when I started at Hendrickson, I saw that I really probably didn't want to be on the shop floor my entire life. So I just started with college, and it took me a long time. It took me about 7 years to get my bachelor's degree, but I did eventually get it. And at that time, there were some opportunities in the sales field. So it kind of got me, into something a little bit different, but still working for the same company. And, got into the sales field, was a district sales manager calling on small accounts, small fleets and dealers across 4 states. And then about 5 years after that, there was an opportunity for national accounts, and I've been doing that for the past 13 years.
Yeah. And I think it's great because we want people to kind of rethink that, go to college right after high school and get student loan debt. Because if you went to college right out of high school, would you have had to get student loan debt?
Absolutely. And the Army paid a small portion of my college, but definitely not all of it. The GI Bill does not pay for 100% of college.
So you started as an entry-level position at Hendrickson.
Yep.
They helped pay for your college, and you've worked your way up through the organization. What's attracted you? Like, why is Hendrickson such a great company that has made you want to stay for 26 years?
We're a privately owned company. It's a big company, but it's a small feel. Everybody kind of knows everybody. It's a family feeling at Hendrickson. I have a great boss, which makes a lot of difference in any workplace, right? And I think They provide good benefits to the employees, and they treat us well. So
Yeah. And any company that you can work for that invests in you and helps you build your career is great. And that's one thing that we try to get our members every day to see is that you need to invest in your employees. Actually, I was at a workforce coalition this past week at Skills USA, and there was a statistic on the board, and it said 86% of Gen Z, they would stay with a company if there were training provided opportunities for them. So it is very important that we help build the next generation and invest in their careers to help them stay with us. And ideally, they're going to stay for 26 years, right? 26 years and plus, right? I love to hear your story. And we got connected through Rents, and you all are a member of Act One, which is a champion supporter of Next Gen. So thank you for your support of our initiatives and what we're trying to do. But recently, you went and worked an event for us, the Technology Student Association, the TSA. Tell us and the listeners, what is the TSA?
TSA, it's a national nonprofit career and student organization of middle and high school students that are kind of engaged in STEM, which is science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. There are local chapters of it available at many middle and high schools all across the country.
Okay. And what did you do at the event?
We just worked a table. We had a table that we set up, and we kind of engaged with students that were coming by. It was some of them coming by and talking to us, and some of us drawing them in and talking, about trucking, because a lot of them, had no idea that we even exist in this segment. So,
And do you have any fun conversations that stand out?
yeah, I mean, there was a lot of conversations. One in particular, though, there was this kid that was about seventh grade. He was like up to my chest, tiny kid, and we had brought some components that we manufacture in the factory and had them on the table. And this kid looked at the one of the components, and he said, "Well, do you machine that on a vertical mill?" And I was like, "Yes, we do." I was like, "So what do you know about that?" And he was like, "Well, I work in a machine shop with my dad." And he was like, "We make stuff like this all the time." And it was just a really refreshing conversation to be able to talk with a kid that knew about machining.
Wow. And is that something like potentially how can we transfer talking to a young person about machining and these students who are interested in STEM, how can we transfer that into like having a conversation about job opportunities that you all have?
Absolutely. I mean, well, Hendrickson, I mean, we're a manufacturer. So, I mean, we do a lot of machining, a lot of welding, a lot of assembly work. Um, a lot of people don't think about trucking as being technical, but, from the manufacturing side, it is very technical. And there are a lot of opportunities, from the engineering standpoint and from the machining and from the trades standpoint.
Yeah, it's really interesting because I mean, what we do at Next Gen Trucking and what we are pushing for is one, career branding, right? We've got everybody needs to know that the trucking industry is an amazing place to work and to contribute your career to, because you're essentially getting every good from point A to point B and helping us get all the things that we need. But the other thing is, it's like working with those schools and helping them create these programs to build our workforce. And so helping connect those dots through events like the TSA is so important. And I think that you said, how many people were at this competition?
The president of TSA came by our table and thanked us for being there, and she said there were 8,000 kids and 2,000 adults, either parents or advisors that were there at this conference, which was baffling to me.
Right. And we have to make sure that trucking is represented there. When we worked that event, the first year that we did, it was really fascinating to see kind of students connect the dots and the light bulb go off in their head. We had, maybe a little squishy truck or a model truck, and we said, "Hey, did you know I really say, hey, what are you looking to do? And a lot of them were like, hey, I want to be an engineer.
Yeah, we heard a
And
lot of
I said, well, do you know that engineers are the ones that make these trucks and continuously make them better as a product engineer? And they're like, oh, because a lot of times they're just thinking, oh, I want to, be an engineer and do buildings, or they don't necessarily just connect the dots to trucking. And same for IT, because a lot of these students want to go into IT and they think Google, Apple.
that. Yep.
They don't think, hey, the trucking industry has so many jobs for all of these types of careers. And it is so fun to help connect those dots.
Absolutely. I totally agree.
What were some of the things that the students that you talked to, like, is there anything that they wanted to do for their career path that you could remember?
We heard a ton of engineering. I mean, almost every kid that came by said they wanted to be an engineer. And, we would ask, what kind of engineering do you want to go into? And I actually I brought two engineers from our plant facility as well with me. So I had some engineers there with me, kind of able to talk to those kids. But I mean, pretty much every person wanted to go in the engineering direction. I heard a couple of biotechnical comments, things like that. But I mean, when we made them aware that not only do we create, but we have to design the tooling that builds the components that we manufacture. They were really baffled to know that there was that much engineering involved in the trucking industry in general.
Yeah, and that's going to be exciting because these young kids, these students in middle school, high school, they want to solve problems, and that's how their brain works. And to think that you have to make the components, I mean, it's really cool. Like, what a great problem for them to get to solve. So, how were some of those conversations with the engineers?
It was good. I mean, these kids are extremely bright, I mean, and I think the cool thing with TSA is it's kind of, it's giving them a little bit of access to that kind of technology. Like they're doing like CAD and things like that, which is like a drawing, basically draw design stuff. And they do like competitions for like bridge building and to see how much weight that a bridge that you design and build can hold. So it's giving them, opportunities to kind of dip their toe in what we are doing in real life. But I mean,
Yeah, absolutely.
a lot of great conversations with the kids. They're very excited, really. I mean, I think one of the coolest things that I notice is, most of the time, anytime you go anywhere and you see a bunch of kids, they got their head in their phone, and I didn't see any of that at this event. In fact, when the TSA president came by, I asked if there was if they had told the students to stay out of their phones while they were engaging with us, and she said no. And I saw very few kids that came by that were stuck in their phones. They really wanted to talk and see what we had to offer and hear what we were talking about. So I was very excited to see that.
But tell me, what do you think these kids like? Because this was kind of a career exposition as a part of the TSA competition where they could talk to employers. What do you think that they were excited about? Like, why did they want to come and talk to you?
I think they just wanted to see, what kind of opportunities were available in the world after school, and a lot of the parents and advisors that came by, they were very curious about, were we a US based company, and, what kind of opportunities do we have available, and do we hire people straight out of high school? And, there were some kids that came by that actually talked a little bit about that. They weren't really interested in going to college. They were interested in going into the trades. And, they were like, what kind of opportunities do you guys have? And we talked a lot about the welding and the machining and the assembler type jobs that, we really hire straight out of high school for, and we will train on the job to get their certifications and stuff for.
And that's really important because for so many years, students have been told to go to college, to go to college. I'm sure you probably got that message, and it just wasn't the message that you needed, right? And so for these students to say, I'm a part of this group, the Technology Student Association, and a lot of my peers want to be engineers and in IT and data analytics, but I want to go straight into the workforce. That is got to be a little refreshing for them to hear your story and to know that they can work for a company that's going to invest in their future.
Absolutely. And Hendrickson's not the only company that does that. There are numerous companies in the trucking industry that I'm aware of that offer college reimbursement if you'll work for them. There are a ton of different companies that offer a lot of benefits in our segment. And I think it's important, for those companies to tout that to students in middle and high school.
Absolutely. But the way we do that is by being out there and engaging.
Yep.
And so thank you for engaging at this event with these students. I did you have fun?
I had a lot of fun. I mean, me and the two engineers that I brought with me, we had a 5 hour block of time that we were talking to students. And I'm not joking you. I don't think I stopped talking for 5 hours straight. Uh,
Wow.
by, by the end of the event, I was ready for a drink of water. That's for sure.
Yeah, you were it's exhausting, but that's one of the things I try to communicate to our members is that when you're talking to students, it's really fun. It's awesome to see a new perspective and to really help maybe guide these students to a future that they didn't know was possible for them. And it's fun to promote what you do because you've been there 26 years, so you must be pretty proud of what you do and what you've accomplished.
Absolutely. I mean, I always tell people, the if you enjoy what you do, you're going to be the best advocate for that company versus any advertising that you could possibly do. That word of mouth is invaluable.
It is. You're so right. Now, one thing I learned about you before we even when I was trying to get rents to see if you guys might be able to be a part of this because you had your manufacturing facility there is that you were a part of the TCA when you were younger.
I actually was a part of the TSA, and I didn't really remember that until this came up because I was just in it for like a year or maybe 2 years in like my freshman or sophomore year in high school. And, I was in a VOTEC class because that was one of the tracks you could take in high school, right? And, this is one of the few organizations that you could actually be a part of for extracurricular activities. So you were highly encouraged to get involved in TSA. But yeah, I was actually a part of it, and I did not recall that until this came up.
I love that. And so this is kind of interesting in that maybe if you're a parent listening to this or know of somebody that's younger, they probably have a TSA chapter at their school that they could be a part of. And they have this competition where they're going to get to go to a specific city every year during the summer. One of the competitions I remember, and I think I saw it again this year, is they build a solar little car, and then they race those solar cars to see who wins. Did you hear about that competition?
I didn't see any of the solar car stuff, and like I said, it's been probably 30 years since I've been in high school, so I'm sure it's changed a little bit. But I did hear about some of the competitions, like the bridge building, and there was some robotic stuff there. There was one of the tables next to us had like a full scale robot that was walking around. So obviously, a lot of the kids like to see that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Were there any standout booths or industries that were also represented there that you remember?
I mean, not really. There were a lot. There weren't many employer type people at this event. In fact, I think we may have been one of the only ones there that were like an actual employer or an actual company. There were some technology type things like the robots and some people, selling stuff for the TSA in general. But we were probably one of the only actual employers there.
Oh, I love it that you were there. And it's really, I think students are hungry for a real world application because you hear about these math problems or science, and it's kind of a little bit maybe far-fetched. And I don't want to say far-fetched, but it's just in a different realm. But if you can actually apply it to a real world scenario, a real world STEM scenario. And I think in trucking, we have a lot of that. Like we have a lot of math problems in our industry, science, technology, right? I mean, would you say that you're at your facility, you all are using math every day?
Absolutely. We're using science, math, technology. I mean, we have robotic welding, we have CNC machining that we use. We use computer programming. I mean, we're using every high tech thing that you can think of at our manufacturing facilities.
Well, this is really actually kind of interesting to me because um, we even do things that I don't think about, right? Like the CNC milling. I'm like, oh, I haven't connected those dots myself
Yeah.
that you all use that. At the Mid-America Truck Show this year, we brought in a lot of CTE students from around the region and the states surrounding us. And we had a lot of welding students. And I said to them, I was like, hey, what was interesting to you about the Mid-America Truck Show? And I mean, it is a field trip for them. So they get out of school, which is pretty exciting for them as a high school student. But one of the things that they didn't really connect the dots is that in trucking, we hire welders.
Yeah.
And so for them to walk into the room and see all these trucks and trailers and to be like, oh, I could be a welder in this industry. I could work for a manufacturing facility like Hendrickson and be a welder. That's like super important to help them connect those dots, right?
Absolutely. And I think we don't do enough of that, advocacy in the trucking industry. Everybody thinks about trucking. You think about driving a truck or being a technician, right? But manufacturing is probably half the industry. I mean, there are a lot of, there are a ton of different companies that actually manufacture the components and manufacture the trucks and trailers that, the fleets buy and use every day.
Yeah. And the logistics behind it all. And we're seeing a big trend in schools, high schools wanting to start supply chain and logistics programs. And we see as a great entry point as well into our industry. So one of the things that we do, right, it's like, hey, we're trying to help build CDL programs and diesel tech programs. But this is the side of things that we're also trying to do. It's really about promoting our industry to every student, whether they want to be an engineer or a data scientist, whether they want to be a welder or a driver. It's all about career branding our industry as a great place to work. What has attracted you to continue to want to stay in this industry?
For me, and I'm a little bit of an older generation. I'm kind of in the in-between generation now, which is kind of a weird place to be. But trucking is very relationship oriented. People like dealing with people in this industry, and I like that. I like the fact that we're still pretty personal, even though we're a huge segment of industry. Everybody kind of knows everybody, especially if you've been around for a while. So, I mean, that's kind of what keeps me in this. And, there are new challenges every day with trucking. That's one thing that never changes with our industry, whether it be the move from diesel to electric or, all the different kind of advanced manufacturing that is available and that we're trying to utilize to make things more cost effectively for customers. There's no shortage of challenges.
Yeah, that's right. And it seems like with all of the industries, trucking is a part of it. I mean, if you think about healthcare, who's bringing them their supplies?
Absolutely.
If you think about construction, it's, hey, you've got to bring the supplies to the house that you're building, and you do that on a truck. And so I think our industry is one of the most largest industries in that every other industry uses us, but we're also kind of like hidden a little bit in that students don't know about us until we are there introducing them to us, right? They know, hey, I want to be a police officer or a nurse, or I want to build houses, but they don't say, oh, I want to drive a truck or be a technician, or I want to be an engineer in logistics and help the infrastructure of it all. So it's a really fun place to be.
Absolutely. We're definitely hidden in the background, but everything you buy or touch as a consumer has been on a truck at some point.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And really COVID did help that. That is one thing, is that now the supply chain, if it falls apart, people know that our whole world is going to fall apart because we don't have toilet paper or any food that we need to survive.
Absolutely. And I mean, I know we don't think about it a lot right now, but it really is a global industry. It's not just United States based, although we're, kind of in a United States based focused, hyper focused era of trucking now. But I would agree. It is a global industry. Many companies are global operations.
Okay. So talking to a industry person that's sitting listening to this, what would you say about getting involved maybe in their local school or at an event like this?
I would say hands down, you should be involved with your local schools, whether it be VOTEC schools, high schools, or colleges. I mean, because you've got to bring awareness to our industry because there's, these kids, they're more focused on doing something funner or more exciting. They just don't know all of the opportunities that trucking has to offer. So you have to put it in front of them.
Right. You have to put it in front of them or they won't know. Okay, now you're talking to a student. What would you say to a student that comes up to you and is just wanting to explore why they should consider coming to work for you, just like you did right out of high school? Why should they consider that?
I mean, I think there's not many industries out there that can, touch everything and can be here forever. I mean, that's the one thing with trucking. It's not going anywhere. So you don't have to worry about your industry being outsourced overseas. I mean, it's always going to be here. We have to continue to move things in this country, and trucking is the way to do it.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Any final thoughts to wrap this up? I hope that next time I call and say, hey, I've got an event, that you're going to say, I'll be there. This was great.
Even though I'm not in HR or recruiting, like I said, if you're happy doing your job, you're always going to be a good advocate for it. So I'm really glad we did this, and I'm honestly glad we didn't bring in a professional HR person or recruiting person, because they would not have the experience that we had that we could share with these students. I think it's important to put the right people in front of the students as well, to give them some practical experience.
That's a really good perspective. And I'm glad you told me that. It's not always about bringing that recruiter or HR person in, but the practical engineers talking to thousands of students that want to be an engineer. Like, having that conversation really is invaluable for those young people.
Absolutely. And when you find a job you love, you'll never work another day in your life, right?
That is right. That's right. Every day I wake up and I literally love what I do. It's serious. People thank me. And I'm like, it is a joy to get to do what I get to do. I just love it. There's just not enough hours in the day to get it all done.
I couldn't agree more.
So, Bryan, thank you so much for being a part of the Technology Student Association career event and talking to students and enlightening them about the trucking industry. And we really appreciate our partnership with Act One, and Hendrickson's a part of that. So thank you for all you do to support the industry and to invest in our future.
Thanks for having us, Lindsey. We really appreciate being involved with this organization and with you.
And if anybody wants to find you, where can they reach you?
Hendrickson-intl.com is a good place to locate Hendrickson.
Awesome. Thank you. And we hope you have a great day.
Thank you. You too.